What you are about to hear was never supposed to leak, but it did. And once you know it, you cannot unknow it. Hello, friends. My name is James, and you are watching Royal Daily Report, your number one source for the most exclusive, most shocking, and most talked about royal stories on the internet. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now because you do not want to miss what we have coming. And if you have been here from the beginning, you already know. We never stop. We never hold back. And tonight is no different. Let us get into it. Inside Buckingham Palace right now, two of the most powerful men in Britain are reportedly at war with each other. Not with Harry, not with Meghan, with each other. King Charles and Prince William, father and son, king and heir. The two men who are supposed to be the united face of the British monarchy in 2026 are reportedly divided, completely, bitterly, and according to insiders speaking to multiple outlets this week, almost irreconcilably, over one question: what to do about Harry's July visit. Charles wants to welcome his son. Charles is reportedly financing the trip. Charles offered a royal residence. Charles offered his personal security cover. Charles is, in the words of one insider who used a biblical comparison, preparing to slaughter the fatted calf. The prodigal son is coming home, and the king wants to celebrate. And William? William is furious. William is reportedly considering boycotting Sandringham entirely if Harry and Meghan are welcomed onto the grounds. William's camp believes Charles is being weak, that he is undermining his own heir, that he is rewarding a brother who published a memoir that named names, gave interviews that damaged the family, and has spent 6 years building a brand on the back of the royal name while simultaneously attacking the institution it belongs to. Tonight, we are telling you the full story of the most serious divide inside the royal family right now. Not Harry versus the palace. Charles versus William. This is Royal Daily Report. And tonight, we are inside the fight. Let us start with what Charles is reportedly doing. Because the scale of what the king is offering Harry for this July visit is, when you lay it all out, genuinely extraordinary. According to the Royal Observer, citing journalist Tom Sykes, Charles is actually financing the upcoming visit, not contributing to it, financing it, paying for a trip by the son who published Spare, the same son whose memoir contained accusations that damaged Charles's wife, his household, and the institution he now leads, paying for that son to come home. He has reportedly offered a royal residence for the Sussex family to stay in. He has reportedly arranged to cover the security costs himself after Ravek declined Harry's request for government protection. And an insider, speaking to the Royal Observer, described Charles's emotional state about this reunion with unmistakable clarity. They said Charles is simply overjoyed by the turnaround. And then they went even further. They said it is a happy outcome for the king. The fatted calf will be slaughtered. That is not the language of a political calculation. That is not the language of an institution managing a difficult situation. That is the language of a father. A father who has been separated from his son and his grandchildren for years, who has cancer, who does not know how much time he has, and who, when the opportunity came to bring his family home, did not hesitate. He reached into his own pocket. He arranged the security himself. He opened the door. If you want to understand why William is so furious about everything Charles is doing, subscribe to Royal Daily Report right now. Because what comes next is the most significant father and son argument the House of Windsor has seen in years. Here is William's position, and it is important to understand it honestly, because it is not simply jealousy or pettiness. It is a considered, strategic, principled objection that every royal expert covering this story has acknowledged as legitimate. William's view, according to the Royal Observer and IB Times UK reporting from the past week, is that Charles is undermining his own successor, that by financing Harry's trip, by covering his security, by offering him royal accommodation, Charles is sending a signal that the institution is willing to reward behavior that William believes should have consequences. Harry published a memoir. Harry gave the Oprah interview. Harry gave the Netflix documentary. Harry made accusations about members of the royal family. Harry's book called Camilla Dangerous. And now Charles is paying for Harry to come home and potentially be photographed being welcomed back into the royal fold. William's camp believes that creates a precedent, that it tells the world that no matter what you say about this family, no matter how much damage you do, the door will always open if you ask nicely enough. And William, who is preparing to be king, who is building the monarchy he intends to lead, who has spent 6 years carefully maintaining the contrast between himself and his brother, sees that precedent as dangerous. One insider told the Royal Observer that William will completely boycott Sandringham if Harry and Meghan are welcomed onto the grounds. That is not a small threat. Sandringham is one of the most significant properties in the royal estate. It is where the royal family traditionally spends Christmas. It is where King George VI died. It is where generations of royal family life has played out. For William to say he will not enter it if Harry and Meghan are there is a statement of how serious his objection is. Like this video right now, if this father and son fight is showing you something about the royal family that no other channel is covering with this level of detail. And subscribe to Royal Daily Report, because what comes next is where the royal expert analysis becomes genuinely extraordinary. The Royal Observer, publishing on June 23, 2026, offered analysis that cuts to the heart of this entire situation. The expert framing they used was this. What started as a simple news about Harry's visit to Birmingham for the Invictus Games 100-day countdown has now blown up into a full-fledged family drama, with every significant royal having a role to play. Harry, the wronged prince. Charles, the ailing grandfather who wants to meet his grandkids. And William, the dutiful future monarch who wants to protect his country and wants accountability. And then they asked the question that nobody in the palace wants answered out loud. Who is tipping the scale? Who is leaking to the newspapers? Is it Charles's camp, trying to create momentum for the reconciliation? Is it William's camp, trying to create pressure against it? Or is it, as the headline suggested, both of them simultaneously, father and son, each using the press as a weapon in an argument they cannot resolve in private? IB Times UK, reporting on June 26th, added something that makes the picture even more complicated. It noted that King Charles is reportedly not trying to mend the long break between Harry and William at all. He is focused on seeing Harry, on seeing Archie and Lilibet, on the father and grandfather relationship. The brother relationship, according to these sources, Charles has essentially left alone. He is not mediating. He is not facilitating. He is pursuing the one relationship he feels he can still salvage, while accepting that the relationship between his two sons is beyond his ability to fix right now. Royal editor Emily Nash, speaking on the Royally Us podcast, described Charles's likely approach to the July visit with a pragmatism that is somehow both hopeful and heartbreaking. She said the king is likely focused on his own moment of spending time with the son he has not seen for a long time, and perhaps meeting his grandchildren. That sounds almost ordinary, she said, which is exactly why it lands. Do not go anywhere. Subscribe to Royal Daily Report and turn on those notifications. Because what comes next is about the one thing both Charles and William actually agree on. And it reveals more about this family than anything else. Here is the detail that nobody is giving enough attention to. William's camp is furious about Charles welcoming Harry back. But even William's most hardline positions apparently have one exception. The grandchildren. According to every source covering this story, there is no reporting anywhere of William actively trying to prevent Charles from seeing Archie and Lilibet. The objection is to Harry, to Meghan, to the optics of a royal welcome for a couple who spent years attacking the institution. But Archie and Lilibet, the children who did not choose any of this, who were born into this family without consenting to the role their parents played. Even William's most extreme reported position, the Sandringham boycott, is not framed as opposition to Charles meeting his grandchildren. It is framed as opposition to Harry and Meghan being welcomed onto the grounds. That distinction is small but significant, because it suggests that underneath the fury, underneath the principled objection, underneath the strategic calculation about precedent and institutional credibility, there is still something human operating, an acknowledgement that these children are blameless, that whatever accountability Harry needs to face, Archie and Lilibet do not, and that a grandfather being separated from his grandchildren is a wound that even the most uncompromising position struggles to justify. In Stars, reporting on June 23rd, framed it with precision. They wrote that a meeting between Charles and his grandchildren is something closer to a beginning, harder to politicize, harder to frame as capitulation by either side, and harder, therefore, for William to oppose without looking like he is punishing children for the decisions of their parents. Let us talk about what royal expert analysis tells us about who wins this argument inside the palace. Because that is the question that determines what July actually looks like. In Stars, in the same June 23rd piece, offered something that is worth sitting with. They wrote, whatever Charles arranges in the short term, William will eventually set the terms of what Harry's relationship to the monarchy looks like. And on that front, nothing has moved. That is the reality underneath everything else. Charles is the king today. He can finance the trip. He can offer the residence. He can cover the security. He can open the door. But Charles will not be king forever. And the man who will be king after him has made his position clear. Harry needs to change something fundamental. Stop monetizing the royal title. Stop the public commentary. Stop the cycle of interview and memoir and documentary that has defined the Sussex operation since 2020. Until that changes, William's door stays closed. The palace will manage Charles's reunion with Harry in July through the lens of what is privately true. A father who loves his son and wants to see his grandchildren. And through the lens of what is institutionally necessary. Not a public spectacle. Not a photographed reconciliation. Not something that looks like the institution rewarding everything William believes it should not reward. Emily Nash said she would not expect anything dramatic from the July visit. Nothing visible. Nothing public. Nothing that changes the official story. Just a father and son. In private. Perhaps for the last time. Here is what this story tells us. The most powerful institution in Britain is currently divided between a king who thinks like a father and an heir who thinks like a future monarch. And both of them are right. Charles is right that a dying father should be able to see his son. Right that grandchildren should know their grandfather. Right that love does not have an expiry date. William is right that accountability matters. Right that precedent matters. Right that the monarchy's credibility depends on consistent standards. Right that welcoming Harry back without conditions sends a message that everything he did had no consequences. Both men are holding legitimate positions. Both men are protecting something real. And between them, the two children who carry this family's name in their own names, Archie Harrison and Lilibet Diana, are coming home. To a country that does not fully know their faces. To a grandfather who has been waiting 4 years. To an uncle who is reportedly furious about their parents being here. And to a family that, even in its most divided and complicated and humanly imperfect state, is still, somehow, trying to find its way back to itself. This is Royal Daily Report, and we will be here for every moment of July. That is all for tonight, friends. I am James, and this has been Royal Daily Report. If this story hit different for you, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you have not already, and turn on those notifications because we drop new stories every single week. Share this video with one friend who loves royal news. I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and stay royal. Goodbye, friends. Hello, friends. If you are not subscribed to Royal Daily Report yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button right now.